Hello everyone, welcome back to economics class once again. Yesterday, we were able to finish the first chapter under macroeconomics portion, that's about introduction. Today, I want you to take you to chapter 8, that's about banking. In chapter 8, we have commercial banks and we have central bank. So in the first place, we will discuss commercial bank. Now, before we go into your textbook, you just look around. There are people who has a lot of money and now they are insecure to keep their money at home. Because when you are a rich guy, chances are very high that you get robbed or maybe you lose your money like that. That's why the rich guy need an institution. At the same time, the poor guy who wants to start an investment, or the poor guy or the businessman who wants to start production units, but he does not have money, and therefore he needs a place or he needs an institution where he gets money. So these two are some of the there are so many reasons, but these two are some of the reasons why bank was established all over the world. And from the term itself, commercial, it's meant for business. That you have to remember. Commercial bank, it's meant for business. So the reason why bank was established is because we need a safe place to keep our money. At the same time, we also need to borrow money from some institution. That's commercial bank. For 1 mark, what is commercial bank or define commercial bank? It is that financial institution which performs two basic functions of accepting deposits from the people and at the same time advancing loans to the investors or to the businessmen or to the households in order to generate profit. That's the meaning of commercial bank for 1 mark. I'm repeating again, those financial institutions which performs two basic functions of accepting deposits from the people and also advancing loans to the entrepreneurs, businessmen or households with one motive, with one aim, to generate or to earn interest rate. That is called commercial bank. I hope that's clear. So in higher classes, you will come across the meaning of commercial banks in so many ways. But for class 12 standard, I am sure this should be enough. However, you should also be mindful that in understanding commercial bank, there are also so many other financial institutions which deals with money. All right. You might want to think, you might want to imagine or look around. There are so many other financial institutions which deals with money, but not all of them are called commercial bank. Are you getting the point or not? We know that commercial bank is a financial institution, no doubt. But what I'm trying to tell you is not all the financial institutions are called commercial bank. We want to differentiate it from some points, like in commercial banks, they accept deposits from the people and also they are willing to give out or advance loans to the people. But there are also some institutions which accepts money willingly from the people but does not want to give loans to the people back. So can you imagine or can you think of one such like institution which is very happy and willing to accept money from you, but is not willing to give you loan? Can you think? Okay, post office is one institution or not. Post office, besides doing all its normal business, it also accepts money from the people. But they hardly or they never give loans to the people. So post office, even though it's a financial institution, will not be called commercial bank. Mutual funds. I'm sure you must have heard what mutual funds are. And not only that, life insurance corporations. Today, because of competition, there are so many private life insurance companies established and set up all over the world, in India as well. These are the institutions which deals with money. They are also financial institutions. They accept money from the people, but they don't give out loans to the people. And therefore, those financial institutions which does not give out loan will not be called commercial bank. For 1 mark, you have to remember, commercial bank performs 2 basic functions: accepting deposits from the people, at the same time giving and advancing loans to the people. That's the meaning of commercial bank for 1 mark. I want to discuss the functions of commercial banks. So you go to higher classes, then again you will come across so many functions which is performed by commercial banks. And today, because of digitalization, we are in internet world, the commercial banks, they have started performing so many other functions which they were not able to do when banks were established in the first place. So the functions keeps increasing, it keeps adding. But you should remember, you have to write this for your exam. And at the most, they'll ask you for 8 marks. So if they ask you for 8 marks, they'll ask you to explain only 4. In your textbook, how many functions are mentioned? 7 functions are mentioned. We will explain, no doubt, but you might want to give importance on the first 4, because if they ask you for 8 marks, these 4 will be enough. So the first function of commercial bank is acceptance of deposits. The bank, they don't simply accept deposits from you. No, it's not like that. There are certain criteria. There are certain rules which needs to be followed. So the first thing, commercial bank accepts deposits from the people is through saving account and current account. Saving account and current account are called demand deposits. We will explain later. And then the second one is time deposits, which is also called fixed deposit or term deposit. So the commercial banks, they are very willing and ready to accept deposits from the customers, from the public, under saving account and current account. Okay, saving account, it is normally opened or used by households or individuals like you and I, who saves our money in the bank under saving account. Current account is normally used or opened by those business people, those investors who has to undergo or who has to do multiple times of transactions or withdrawal, and therefore they go for current account. So what you should remember is saving account is opened by households, individuals like you and I, and current account is opened by business people, the production unit. Now, the advantage of having a saving account is you will get a minimum interest rate from the bank. As a student, you are required to open a bank account because today scholarship is also directly credited to your account. You are required to open an account. Whatever account that you open, that's saving account. And I'm sure when you open this saving account, the bank also gives you check facility. All right, the bank also gives you check facility, and therefore the advantage of having saving account is you get check facility. At the same time, you also get minimum interest rate from the bank. How much that is, that I will not tell you now, but you will get minimum interest rate from the bank for the money that you keep in your account. Current account, as I was telling you, is used by production units, by the firms who has to do multiple number of withdrawals or deposits. That's called transactions. And therefore, even here also, the bank gives check facilities. So under current account, there is no limit to use the check by the customer. There is no limit. However, no matter how much money you deposit in the bank under current account, the bank does not give you interest rate. That's the difference. Now, why are saving account and current account called demand deposits? It is so mainly because if you open your account under these two, you can simply withdraw your money by writing the amount of money in a check. You give the check to the bank by law has to accept the check. So you are simply demanding your money by writing it on a check. That's why it is called demand deposits. Clear or not? It is called demand deposits because the account holder of these two can simply withdraw their money by writing it on a check. That's why it is called demand deposits. So second one is called time deposits or fixed or term deposits. Now, these kind of deposits are normally done by rich people or even households like you and I also, who has to keep the money in the bank for a fixed period of time. It can be a year, it can be a couple of years, 3-4 years, that it all depends on the customer. But under time deposits, the customer cannot withdraw the money before the expiry of the term, which is mutually agreed between the customer and the bank. Are you all getting the point or not? You keep your money in the bank under time deposits unless the fixed or unless the term is expired, you are not allowed to withdraw your money. So suppose you're keeping your money under time deposits for 5 years. Okay, in 3 years or in 4 years now, you are itching to withdraw your money because all your friends are buying mobiles and all these latest gadgets. You also want to buy. But since you have already kept your money here, no. Even if you want to withdraw the money also, you can't withdraw the money. It has to be withdrawn only after the expiry of the term. You will also agree, before you open the account, the bank will also agree. 5 years, 4 years, or whatever year that you agree. You are allowed to withdraw the money only after the expiry of the term. However, the most interesting part under time deposits is you get higher interest rate from the bank. That's it. You get higher interest rate from the bank for keeping your money under time deposits. You keep minimal interest rate from the bank for having a saving account. You don't get anything for having a current account. Clear or not? So this is the first function of commercial bank. Number 2, advancing loans. Every commercial banks, they are always willing to make advances and loans, especially to entrepreneurs, especially to the businessmen. Because the entrepreneurs and businessmen and production unit, they take in large amount. So the banks, they are willing to advance and give loans to the entrepreneurs, businessmen, production unit with one aim, that is to generate interest rate, to generate profit. Are you all getting the point or not? And in fact, the banks are able to continuously run their activities, transactions, because they are able to generate large amount of interest rate from advancing or from giving loans to the people. Are you getting the point or not? For a household individual like me, how much do I need? Maybe a lakh or two. So for taking loan amounting 1 lakh or 2 lakh, it might not be, the bank might not be able to generate much interest rate from me. But there are businessmen who takes loan even amounting to a crore also. And when the amount is large, the bank will also be able to generate large interest rate. That's how the bank runs their business. That's the motive of a bank. From the term itself, commercial, it's mainly meant for business. So, there are many ways where commercial banks are willing to give loans to the people. I have mentioned some here: direct loan, cash credit, demand loan, and then overdraft is also there. But since it's given in point number 4, I just left out, but we will explain all together. So, what is a direct loan? Direct loans are given to the customers. Direct loans are given to the people against movable properties. That you have to remember. Even though these are not explained in the textbook, you should know. That's why I'm telling you in nutshell, in brief. So direct loans are given to the customers or to the people against movable securities. What are movable securities? Those things which can be moved around: jewelries, diamond, ornaments, cars, or any kind of things which you are able to move around. So if you approach the bank with a security having your jewelries, diamond, or maybe your vehicle, the bank will work out if it's genuine or not, and then against that security, the bank gives you loan. That is called direct loan. What is a cash credit? Cash credit is also almost similar, but the difference here is a loan is given against a security which are not movable. Suppose you are running a factory. Suppose you have a plant and machinery. Against those, the bank can also give you loan. Those are called cash credit. Are you getting the point or not? Here, the loan is given against movable securities. Here, it's not movable. Then, demand loan. What is a demand loan? Is it something new? Demand loan is those loan which is given to the customer, but the customer has to immediately pay back as soon as possible when the bank asks the customer to pay it back. From the word itself, demand, the bank is giving you loan, but the moment the bank asks back the loan from you, you have to give back immediately. That's why it is called demand loan. Clear or not? So there are many ways where you get loan. Over here, if we are to explain, it will take us the whole day also, but I'm just skipping it from here. So these are some of the ways where commercial banks give loans to the customers, thereby generating more interest rate from the people. Then third point is we have discounting bills of exchange. That is also called handis. Sometimes they will use the term handis, sometimes discounting bills of exchange, but it's same. So what is discounting bills of exchange? It's tricky. These discounting bills of exchange normally takes place in a wholesale market. In a wholesale market, the buying and selling takes place in huge quantities, in bulk. Sometimes the buyer might not be in a position to purchase the items in cash, but the seller is willing to sell because the buyer is someone whom the seller can trust. So what happens is the buyer and the seller, they will enter into an agreement. Maximum period, it's 90 days, 3 months, which is never mentioned in your textbook, but these bills of exchange, these are normally done for maximum 90 days. So the buyer and the seller, they will enter into an agreement saying that the buyer will pay back the money within 90 days. The seller will also agree, the buyer will also agree. So buying and selling already taken place. But the question here is, the seller, he can't wait for the 90 days for the customer to pay him back the money because it includes large amount of money. And if he keeps waiting for 90 days, it's going to affect his business. What does he do now? The bills of exchange it's an agreement. It has already been signed between the buyer and the seller. So what does the seller do now? The seller will simply take the agreement, approach any commercial banks for discounting bills of exchange. The bank will look at the documents. The bank will look at the agreement. If it's genuine, the bank will start working out as to how much interest rate should be deducted from these bills of exchange and how much money should be given to the seller. So over here, the seller has now approached the commercial bank. The bank is now working out and then realized that it's genuine, and therefore now the bank has started working as to how much interest rate should be deducted or charged from the agreement. They have now decided, and then the remaining money is given to the seller. Now the seller is happy. He does not have to wait for the buyer to give him back the money in 90 days. He has already recovered it from the bank. He is happy now. He will continue his business. Now the bank will take the trouble of recovering the money from the buyer. That's tricky and it's interesting, or not, because it's convenient for both the buyer and the seller. The buyer also now, he does not have any pressure because he has to pay to the bank, not to the seller. So maybe installment-wise, the buyer will pay it back to the bank. Now the seller, he already got the money from the bank, so there's no trouble for him. That's simply called discounting bills of exchange or handis. And then we have overdraft facilities. What do you mean by overdraft facilities? I am not sure if it's written in your textbook or not, but overdraft facilities are normally given to the current account holder who normally has to, do who normally has to do a large number of transactions in a day. Suppose the current account holder is a businessman. He has only maybe 1,000 in his account, but in order to run his business, he needs maybe 1,000. I'll write on the board for our understanding. The guy has a current account and he has just 100 rupees in his account, but he needs money more than this, and therefore the bank will allow the customer to over withdraw his money. That means, suppose the customer needs 1,800, but he has only 1,000 in his account. So this 800 amount of money, the bank will allow him to withdraw the money. Even though he has just 1,000 rupees, now he is able to withdraw 1,800 rupees. That is simply called overdraft facility. It's also kind of a loan. But the bank does not allow the customer to over withdraw money for free. The bank charges interest rate on the overdrawn amount of money. So in this example, how much is the overdrawn money? He has just 100 rupees in his account. He needed 800 more. He needed 1,800. The bank has now allowed him to withdraw money amounting to 1,800. The bank is now very eager to charge interest rate on the overdrawn money. How much do you think is overdrawn money here? Simple. Look at the board. It's 800 rupees. So the bank charges interest rate on the overdrawn money. This is also like a loan. And therefore, in point 2, after demand loan, overdraft can also come. Are you getting the point or not? So these are the 4 most important functions of commercial banks, which you might want to prepare for your exams. But besides these, we have point 5, 6, and 7. You might want to follow your textbook. What does your textbook say? Under 5, we have agency functions of the bank. Under agency functions of the bank, the points has been categorized into 4. But we might not be able to explain all the 4 points because these are very simple and these points are also given in brief. So under agency functions of the bank, the first point is transfer of funds. Commercial banks allows transfer of funds to the customer from one place to another. I'm very sad to take this example, but for our own understanding, I want to cite this example which is happening today. Because of this global pandemic, because of this virus, there are many people who are stranded outside, including Nagas. They want to come back, but because of the situation, now the government is appealing to the stranded people not to come back, and in return, they are also willing to give money to the stranded people, amounting to 10,000 or not. It's all over the news. So how does the government do that? The government cannot just fly to Delhi, fly down to Chennai and give the money in cash like that. This can simply be done by transferring funds or transferring the money from Kohima to anywhere on planet Earth or not. If the government has the account number of all the stranded people who are living outside, just get the account number and then deposit there. That's called transfer of funds. You might want to look at your textbook for your understanding. Then collection of funds is also there. Have you heard the term, where is it? Bills. Have you heard the term checks? Have you heard the term demand draft? These are very normal in banking activities. Demand draft, instead of sending cash, you make a demand draft from the bank, you send the demand draft, and then to the person to whom you are sending, they encash the money through the demand draft. Check facility is also there. Bills are also there. So all these are collected by the commercial banks on behalf of the customers. Simple as that. Then we have payment of various items. Today, because of government's notification, all the commercial banks are now allowed to accept taxation, payment of taxation from the people. During our time, to pay tax, you have to go to the income tax office. It's very inconvenient. It takes time. But today, you don't have to go to the income tax office and pay. No. Government's notification is there, allowing all the commercial banks to accept tax payment from the customer as well. Today, insurance premium. If you have insurance policy, you can also pay your premium through commercial banks. The commercial bank does all this for us. Then point number 4, if you are investing in mutual funds, if you are investing in stock exchange, you are not able to do it directly. The commercial bank does it for you on your behalf. So you have a share in one business, you have a share. The profit or the dividend, it is also collected by the customer, by the commercial bank on your behalf. If you are to make any payment also, it is the commercial bank who does it on your behalf. So all these 4 points will come under point number 5. That is called agency functions of the bank. Then point number 6, we have performing general utility services. In this point also, they have categorized into 4 points, but I want to mention only 2. Point number 2, local facility. This is very important. I am not sure if we the people in Nagaland are habituated in having or in doing this business, but outside Nagaland or even outside India, there are people who makes use of this local facility. You have jewelries, you have important documents or securities with you which you think is not safe to be kept at home. Where do you keep? You think that keeping at home is not secure at all. People might come and steal, or you might get lost. And so the best thing you do is you approach commercial banks. They give you local facility where you are allowed to keep your ornaments or your important documents in that local facility. Of course, bank will charge you some amount of money, but it is considered very safe. That will come under performing general utility services. And then point number 4 is purchase and sale of foreign exchange. You want to go outside the country to travel. Okay, so maybe with your family or with your colleagues, or maybe you want to explore the world. Suppose you want to go to US. Indian rupee does not work there. What do you need? What's the currency name of US? It's dollar or not. So where do you get dollar? You get it only through commercial banks. SBI or any of the commercial banks, you can always exchange your money. Or not. You want to go to Japan, what do you need? Your Indian rupee will not work there. So you need yen. Or not. You want to go to China, what do you need? Do you think you'll need rupee in China also? No. You'll need yuan. Or not. Likewise, in other countries, our Indian rupee stops working and therefore we need their domestic currency. So in order to exchange our currency, commercial banks are always there for our rescue. So that is also one general utility service performed by commercial banks. And lastly, we have money or credit creation. This is very important. In the next topic, money creation by commercial banks is explained with the help of numerical examples. So if time permits, we will also explain that. But for now, let's come back to money or credit creation. Why it is called money or credit creation? It's very tricky, but at the same time, the answer is very simple. So whenever the commercial bank gives loan to the people, the commercial bank does not simply give cash to the customers. All right, your parents, your uncle and aunties who wants to borrow money from the bank, you just ask. When you approach the bank for a loan, the bank will work out all the securities that you produce, and if they find it secure, if they find it genuine, the bank will sanction the loan amount on your behalf. All right, after sanctioning the loan amount, the money, the loan amount is credited into a new account which is opened in the name of the customer. All right, suppose I am the customer, I already have an account in the bank. I have now approached the bank for a loan. The bank is willing to give me loan, but the bank does not give me money in cash. The bank will simply open a new account. Excuse me. The commercial bank will open a new account in my name, and the loan amount is credited in that new account. So that is credit creation, that is money creation. That's why sometimes it is called money creation, sometimes it is called credit creation. Are you getting the point or not? So money creation is already there, where when the bank gives loan, the bank will simply open a new account in the name of the borrower, and the loan amount is credited there. That's called credit creation or money creation. So today, we were able to explain only one topic, but I'm telling you this is important even from your examination point of view. For your exam, you might want to focus only on the first four, but for your understanding and for 1 mark also they might ask. So number 5, 6, and 7, which I explained in brief, you might also want to refer your textbook as well. So before we wind up, I want us to explain the distinction between primary deposit and secondary deposit. In your textbook, the next topic is primary deposit and secondary deposit. What are primary deposits? Primary deposits are actually those money which is deposited by the customer in the bank. The savings which the customer has, they keep it in the bank. Those are simply called primary deposits. But secondary deposit are those deposits, these are called secondary. Why? Because these are the deposits where the commercial bank opens a new account in the name of the borrower when they take loan, and the money is credited there. That's why it is called secondary deposit. For our understanding, you might want to look at your textbook. Secondary deposits, those are deposits which arises on account of loans given by the bank. Loans, as your textbook says, deposits which arises on account of loans given by the bank. So, okay, both are money, we know that, but primary deposits, these are the actual savings that we keep in the saving account or maybe current account, and secondary deposits. These are the money which arises because of granting a loan by the commercial banks. Simple as that. You have to remember, when bank gives loan, they don't give you loan in cash. They will simply open a new account in your name, and the loan amount is credited there. You take the money from there and you do your business, or not. So that's the meaning of primary deposits and secondary deposits. In the next session, we will discuss central bank. I know because of this lockdown, many of us might not have acquired textbook. That's the reason I have started writing on the board. But if you have a neighbor who have economics textbook, you please always borrow from them and then make use of it, because without textbook, it becomes harder for us to understand. So next time, we will discuss central bank, and therefore you please go through before we start. So this brings to the end of my session for today. I'll see you next time. Till then, keep yourself safe and fine. Thank you.